Okay, gather around, because I have tea, hot royal tea, and you won't believe what's been happening behind those polished Windsor Palace doors. So picture this. It's a quiet morning, the kind that feels wrong. Not dramatic, not stormy, just off. Princess Anne, with her seasoned sixth sense for palace tension, feels it in her bones. The staff is doing their usual waltz, smiles, bows, all choreographed. But Anne spots what no one else does. Those tiny glances that last a little too long, conversations cut mid-sentence when she walks by, papers snap shut with that oopsies coming urgency. Something's brewing and Anne knows exactly where it's headed. Princess Charlotte's first big solo speech. Now listen, this wasn't just any appearance, it was the moment. The spotlight, the cameras, the speeches. Charlotte had been rehearsing for weeks. She was glowing with that innocent, bubbly excitement only a young royal gets before stepping out into the world. But, Anne had seen this before. Years ago with Kate, yes, Catherine, Princess of Wales. There was a moment just like this, a debut planned to perfection, only for sneaky, subtle sabotage to threaten everything. But back then, Anne caught it in time. Silent, swift, no one ever knew. Kate walked out like a queen, clueless to the storm Anne had shielded her from, and now it was happening again. Same whispers, same stage adjustments, same game, new target. Anne's eyes laser in on the event board. Something's changed. The podium has been moved, lighting slightly shifted. To the average eye, whatever, but to Anne, dangerous. Enough to disorient a child under pressure, especially when it's all being broadcast live. Oh, and it doesn't stop there. The speech itself. Words had been tampered with. Lines twisted, phrasing clunky, just enough to trip Charlotte's rhythm. She wouldn't know until she was mid-sentence, stumbling in front of the nation. Can you imagine? Anne, ever the silent warrior, walks straight into a backroom meeting. No knocking. Heads turn, startled. Nobody dares challenge her. She scans briefing notes, sees staff assignments that make no sense, names missing, timing's off, and then a gut punch realization. This isn't just sloppiness, it's calculated. And guess who's behind it? Oh, honey, it's someone Anne remembers all too well from the Kate days. Same aid, same manipulation, same shadowy smirk hiding behind protocol. Anne storms back to her quarters, heart pounding. She pulls open that bottom drawer, the one that hasn't been touched in years. Inside, her leather-bound diary, her secret weapon. She flips to a section marked only by a date, the Catherine incident. Reading it sends shivers down her spine. Same patterns, edited scripts, accidents that were anything but. She dismantled it before, brick by sneaky brick, and now it was back. But this time, it's Charlotte, a child. Someone still learning to walk in royal shoes. And this wasn't just a prank, this was a message. You don't belong unless we say you do. And livid. The fire in her chest is nuclear. Charlotte, sweet and excited, has no idea how close she's come to being humiliated in front of the world. And Anne, she's not having it. Midnight at Windsor is like stepping into a ghost story. The halls are still, the silence thick like velvet. But Anne, she's on a mission. She's been watching, waiting, studying every move of the snake behind the scheme. The same palace aide from the past who dared to come for Charlotte. And now, she stands outside his office, no knocking, no hesitation. She pushes the door open like a storm rolling in, and what she finds, a desk, too neat, not a single pen out of place. But beneath that tidy surface lies the truth. And it's ugly. There, right in front of her, are the edited speech draft. Words crossed out, replaced with lines so stiff and robotic it's like they wanted Charlotte to sound like a malfunctioning AI. There's also a blueprint of the stage, with lights adjusted just so, set to completely wash out Charlotte's face. Not flattering, not innocent, intentional. There's even a floor plan that reroutes her entrance to a path with poor lighting and, get this, a step steep enough to trip her on live TV. This wasn't sabotage dressed up as incompetence. This was surgical, cold, cruel. Anne doesn't need to read every note. She knows exactly what she's looking at. Her hand hovers over the evidence. She doesn't touch it, not yet. Behind her, footsteps, slow. Then a pause, the aide enters and freezes, like a child caught with a matchbook and a trail of smoke behind him. "Ma'am," he stammers, voice cracking. "I wasn't expecting." Anne turns, slow and calm, like the eye of a hurricane. She lifts one of the edited speeches between them like a weapon. "Tell me this was a mistake," she says, voice low and sharp. He blinks, swallows, tries to form a sentence. But there's nothing, no excuses, no explanation that could ever justify what he's done. Without a word, Anne scoops up the speech drafts, lighting changes, floor plans, everything, tucks them under her arm and walks past him like he's air. The shame on his face, priceless. And that night, she doesn't sleep. Because queens don't rest when their kingdom is under threat. She calls in 2 staffers, her ride or dies, not palace puppets. These are veterans, people loyal to her, not the drama unfolding in the shadow. They arrive immediately. No questions asked, she explains. They nod, they get to work. By dawn, it's done. Quietly, brutally efficient. The entire event team replaced. On paper, it's a last-minute reshuffle. In reality, Anne just nuked the operation. She walks the venue like a commander before war. At every light rig, she stands there, makes adjustments, checks angles, softens tones. She rewalks the entire entrance path with a measuring gaze. She even tests the mic herself, whispering to check for feedback. Nothing is left to chance. And then comes the moment that, well, grab tissues. Anne sits down with Charlotte, just the 2 of them. No crowd, no staff, just family. And she hands her the original speech, the one before the poison edits. Charlotte looks up at her, eyes full of excitement, not a clue how close she came to disaster. And they practice. Together, word by word, breath by breath. Anne corrects her gently, refines her posture, polishes every pause. And as Charlotte grows more confident, something shifts in Anne. She doesn't smile. She doesn't need to. She just watches like a lioness guarding her cub. Because in that moment, Charlotte doesn't just rehearse a speech. She rises into herself. Later, the event space is buzzing. Staff returns, technicians tweak. To the public, everything looks perfectly normal. But Anne knows, underneath that pristine setup, she's just rewired the entire battlefield. Every trap, disarmed. Every saboteur, dismantled. And when Charlotte finally walks out into the spotlight, graceful, radiant, commanding, the applause is thunderous. Flashbulbs pop, her voice is crystal clear, her delivery, flawless. Everyone claps, everyone cheers, but Anne doesn't. She stands behind the curtain, silent, watching. A quiet sentinel in the shadows, because the real victory, it happened hours earlier and no one even knew. So the crowd is buzzing, the applause for Charlotte's big debut still echoing through Windsor's marbled halls. People are mingling, sipping champagne, gushing over how poised she was. Such grace, like her mother, a future queen in the making. But Anne, she's gone. She doesn't stay for the praise, doesn't toast to the success. That night wasn't about her. It was about a little girl who walked through fire without ever feeling the heat, because Anne had already redirected the flames. Back in her quarters, Anne moves like she's done this 100 times before. Calm, focused, she places the evidence, the edited speech, the malicious plans, the lighting diagrams on her desk, smoothing them down like a general laying out a war map. She exhales deeply. It's over. Or at least this round is, but that nagging twist in her chest, it hasn't left. Because this isn't just about one child's speech. This isn't some petty prank or a one-time act of jealousy. This is deeper, more dangerous. This is about power. She opens her old diary again, its spine cracking like a whisper in the quiet. This isn't just a journal. It's Anne's secret archive, her truth. Page by page, she begins writing. She records everything: names, timestamps, behaviors, speech edits, light angles. Not as a confession, no. This isn't guilt. This is evidence. Receipts. Because if the day ever comes where history demands to know what really happened behind Windsor's walls, this diary will speak. And then, like a ghost rising from the past, one old line haunts her. This institution protects its image more than it protects its own. She had written that after Catherine's near ruin. And tonight it hits harder than ever. Because now, it's clear. The factions have formed. On one side, those aligned with Camilla, whispers and corners, strategizing, positioning, plotting. On the other, Catherine, always composed, always underestimated. And now, Charlotte, a bright young spark rising fast, and right in the middle, the monarchy itself, brittle, balanced on a knife's edge. Anne's seen it all before. She lived through it. Diana, the heartbreak, the fractures, the Charles fallout, aides turned into spies, loyalty treated like currency. Back then, the palace nearly collapsed under the weight of its own deception. And now, it's all happening again, like a cursed symphony replaying its cruelest notes. This wasn't just about tripping Charlotte on stage. No, someone tried to take a pawn off the board. Before she could become a player, they wanted her humiliated, hesitant, obedient. But Anne flipped the board. She stares at the last page she wrote, fingers still on the ink. Then her eyes flick to the fireplace. For a moment, a dark thought creeps in. Should she burn it all? The diary, the evidence, the truth? Just let it go? Lock it away forever? But she doesn't move. She knows something. Truth, once written, pulls like gravity. And the idea of Charlotte years from now discovering this diary, reading every quiet rescue, every near fall avoided, it hits Anne like a lightning bolt. Would Charlotte feel empowered or haunted? Would she wonder if every triumph was real or just a mercy handed down by an ant in the wings? Would every compliment, every round of applause suddenly taste like charity? That's the fear that chokes Anne. Not failure, doubt. She closes the diary slowly, carefully, and locks it away. Not out of secrecy, out of mercy. Because some truths, they need to wait until the heart is ready, or maybe never be known at all. She glances toward the door. The halls outside are quiet again, but that uneasy energy, it still lingers. The rivalries haven't ended. If anything, they've sharpened. Today, it was Charlotte. Tomorrow, could be someone else. Anne thinks of William, brave, noble William. He has no idea this ever happened, and he never will. Not because Anne doesn't trust him, but because she does. If he knew, he'd tear the walls down with his bare hands, and the fallout, it would scorch everything, not just the aid, not just Camilla's camp, but Charlotte's victory too. And Anne, she's always been the one to carry that weight, the quiet force behind the curtain, never in the spotlight, never in the tabloids, never needing credit, just watching the stage to make sure it doesn't collapse. Before bed, she writes one final line. They will remember her smile, but I will remember why it stayed. And with that, she turns off the light, because some battles are fought with sword, but the most important ones are fought in silence.